Namaste and welcome with Bhoom of Bharat with Rama Kumar, where every week we are bringing in new updates on GCCs. And I'm Rama Kumar, founder, CEO, SRK Game Changers. Thank you so much for such an overwhelming response to our podcast, and thank you so much also for the lovely 1 year wishes which I received from almost all our well wishers. SRK Game Changers is a GCC consulting and services organization where we provide advisory, setup, and governance services across talent, business operations, and workplace solutions, driving AI and digital innovation. We leverage the skilled talent pool and groom the next generation leaders of tomorrow, making GCCs a very important part of the organizations. Our tailored workplace solutions use technology as a core, and today we have a very renowned leader from the GCC industry today with us. And today's podcast theme, Bhoom of Bharat, is the GCC's edge for Viksit Bharat. And we have a very great stalwart, GCC stalwart Chetan Garga, a leader known for his being managing in times of crisis. He's been ex-chair of NASCOM, GCC for Karnataka, and has been having very renowned positions with the educational institutes, academia. So welcome, Chetan, to the podcast Bhoom of Bharat, and thank you so much for joining us today. Our audience are going to be having a very enriching experience with you. So thank you once again for joining us. I'm sure a lot of new companies which are coming up, and Allstate are going to look forward to that, leveraging that experience. So thank you once again. And may I request you to please introduce yourself for our audience?
Sure, sure. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. I think it's great to be able to speak to your audience and share my experiences. I have been in the GCC space for nearly 3 decades now, having started with Deutsche Software back in '93 when Deutsche Software was set up in India. At that time, I was bringing a team over from Singapore. Uh, that company then eventually got sold by Deutsche Bank to HCL, and then they started again. Since then, I've been involved in setting up a few other global capability centers. So, Northern Trust in 2005, 2006, and then joining them as their CAO. Northern Trust is a large financial institution out of the US again, based in Chicago. And they set up initially operations in India and then grew to tech. And they've got centers in Bangalore and Pune as we speak. And then after that, I helped set up Allstate Insurance in India. Allstate is a very large property and casualty company, which is really auto and home insurance in the US. They are the fourth largest with revenues of about $50 billion. So, very, very large in their space, doing business in North America, which is US and Canada primarily. We set up Allstate in 2012, and over about 11 years, we grew it to about 9,000 people across technology, operations, analytics, and shared services. So GCC has been a very, very, I suppose, deep part of my career, and I've been involved in many ways. Then, even subsequently, after moving on from Allstate, I've been advising a number of GCC leaders and other companies in their journey, how to grow, how to scale, how to look at various aspects, and advising those who want to come in to India to set up GCCs as to what they need to think about and look at appropriately having the right model for their needs.
So thank you so much for this, Chetan. And I want to start by asking you, today we see the world is reimagining India as a capability and innovation hub. In this turbulent times, we're seeing a lot of changes happening with and the recession also. How GCCs can help companies? Any experiences or examples you may want to kind of share with our audience?
Absolutely. So, in fact, very often I'd say these times like recession or turbulence with digital transformation, etc., actually provide the perfect platform for GCCs to show how much value they can bring to the organization. And let me give you some examples to illustrate the point. Uh, let's say recession, right? Recession is really about, okay, how do I manage cost better? And GCCs are the ideal partner to help companies as a part of the organization to reduce costs for doing the same work, either doing the same work with less or doing more work with the same. And I would even argue that GCCs are much more cost effective than service providers and third parties. Once you've got the scale, once you've got the business running, and you're in a BAU mode. So recession is definitely an opportunity, I'd say, for GCCs. And then turbulent times, if you think of COVID, right, when everyone wanted to go digital in a hurry, GCCs were there to help them in that transition and help them become digital in an accelerated fashion. So I think turbulent times also help GCCs show their mettle in helping organizations do well. And I'll add a few more. So, very often companies during transformation want to try new things, want to try an online model in addition to their bricks and mortar model, right? And they want to have what's called a dual strategy or a clone, a digital clone. GCCs are helping companies create the digital clone while still running their business BAU, right? And offering that channel. And a fourth one is, and we saw this in many, and we looked at it even in our own organization, is how do you create a second headquarters? How do you create an ecosystem which encompasses all the functions of the organization, which can integrate across these functions and be away from the mothership in a practical way? Again, GCCs offer these opportunities, and some companies actually have gone out, like Target, I think, went out saying they're going to be the second headquarters when they set up in India. So that's the other thing that GCCs can help with. So they have multiple advantages across this whole spectrum.
No, I like the idea of being, second headquarters, and with the changes in the culture, becoming a partner and having a seat on the table is very, very important. I think that's a good point that you are bringing about. So that's really good. And I have also seen you that you've been at the forefront driving innovation and transformation. You gave some examples right now also, and have also been recognized as India's best leaders in times of crisis, especially for the more small and medium sized companies where we are focusing on, which I would say in US and Europe, they're still hesitant about setting up in India, and they have some perceived assumptions or risks which are holding them back, which is maybe beyond cost or complexities. uh, how can real on a ground stories, I would say real time ground stories which India has displayed, can help them change their mindset?
So I think historically the assumption was we needed to have a certain scale to be effective in a GCC, and that scale was pretty large a number across technology, operations, etc., etc. I think many companies have shown over the last many years, a few years, that you don't need that many people necessarily to create a GC in India. And I'll give you some concrete examples even. So historically, the perception was that one needed about 1,000 people at least across technology and operations to really be optimal in running and competing with the service providers, right? Because they have a big brand. How do you attract and retain talent, etc. But more recently, we are seeing smaller companies of even 500 people doing very well in setting up their GCCs in India. So that's one part. Second is companies have also become smart to realize that uh, they can outsource corporate functions. So finance, HR, legal, facilities, admin, etc., can all be done by a service provider of sorts, right? And then they can focus on the delivery part of the business, delivery, innovation, etc. So that allows them to be more nimble and have a smaller size and footprint. And then if you look at product companies, which are inherently small, even in their home locations, they need even fewer people. In fact, I've seen product companies just sub 100 doing really well, where they have a strong technology domain presence in India, and that's what they focus on, and leave all the admin and other stuff to others, and run and go from there.
So, in fact, a lot of times I say this that look at that there are dual advantage you could do it in India. One is that you have so much of our population, which can also become a I was a customer for your product. Second is that the kind of talent and the ease of business what you see, but the government has kind of set up now. You could also try a lot of stuff, technology related, or also the changes to your current products, which India can provide you with no other countries could provide you. Do you also see the same thing?
Absolutely. In fact, India as a market, right, is definitely something that companies want to look at. Again, the product needs to fit the country's needs. India is a very price sensitive market typically compared to the West, especially. But again, it's a market for many products. And to your point, if companies look at India as a market and then innovate for the Indian market and create products for the Indian market, they could actually take them around the world and do really well. And I think this what's called reverse innovation, right? Which GE and others have done so well. GE and I think Philips, even in the medical space, has worked phenomenally, where they've taken products made in India for India and then taken them around the world, and they've been hugely successful.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So thanks for sharing the example there of GE. I would like to also understand from you that under your leadership, Allstate has become a kind of a strategic partner. Working very closely with the I would say your head office, which is there. What should global companies understand about the real advantage of GCC in India today?
So the path to become a strategic partner is not easy, and it needs patience. I think it's important for companies as set up in India to realize that this is part of the parent company. It's not a third party. It's not an outsider. To embrace them, give them time, and for the GC leaders to also recognize that they need to build trust and relationships with their stakeholders, partners across various geographies. uh, GCCs should not think of it as a land grab and shouldn't think that, oh, everything that needs to be done outside of the parent should be done in India or in the GCC. No, because there's a place for GCCs, there's a place for third party service providers and specialists, right? So there's a good ecosystem, a hybrid ecosystem, which has a place for everyone. And that's the model it's got to look at, it's got to be thought of in terms of what's best for the parent organization, not how I can grow, my GCC or my empire or my fiefdom of sorts, right? I think with that approach and being more collaborative and thinking of what's best for the organization, and then partnering with the parent, with vendors, etc., one starts building that relationship. Also, understanding the business and the domain is very important. GCCs cannot operate in a vacuum where they operate like, okay, I only do operations, I only do technology. They need to understand the business and end to end flow of how the business works, because that's the opportunity where GCCs can bring together technology, operations, analytics within their environment and create value beyond just the usual stuff that's being asked of them. So I think the GCC leaders need to be collaborative. They need to be innovative. They have to have an entrepreneurial spirit or business acumen in that sense. They need to take some risks and stick their neck out. It's very easy to just do what you do every day and have a good salary, etc., etc. But unless you stick your neck out and really bring value, it's not going to be very effective.
I like the idea about taking risks and being entrepreneurial because that's really very important. It's a good thing. I mean, I also need to make sure continue that spirit for my startup. So, Allstate has also been recognized as the best place to work for women. How does inclusive leadership shape the culture, performance, and innovations in GCC? Any examples or your thoughts on this?
Yeah, we actually did a number of things to become employee centric. And I think COVID was a turning point for many organizations, us included. We went out of our way to make sure that our employees were comfortable. So, safety was number one. Their comfort, their ability to take care of their families, their parents, etc., was very important. In fact, we said even to the point that that's more important than work. And if work has got to be compromised, let's talk about it. Let's do it in a thoughtful way, but don't feel that you're under pressure, that you have to work and work endless hours and work when there's somebody who needs care, right? So things like that we embraced. For women employees, we created programs across our health and benefits models, including menu-based programs for insurance, etc., and benefits, to allow them to be more effective for families. We were we had something called all state mamas that our HR team thought of, all mamas, right? And they basically create an environment for returning mothers, right? So we did small things. They weren't huge in terms of impact financially otherwise, but I think the thought behind it and the intent was what endeared us to our employees. Say, okay, we're really thinking about all aspects of employees and their needs, and so we remain, or also it remains, an employer of choice.
Well, that's good to hear about the mamas. And that gives a different understanding about, mothers returning back. So that's really good thing about that. That's the reason, Allstate got recognized. So really awesome about this. And I would like to also hear your thoughts, since you're already working with a lot of other GCCs as well. What do you see when you look ahead 3 to 5 years? How do you envision the evolution of leadership, especially in the context of taking ownership within the GCCs? What strategic steps should organization take? That I would like to also understand from you.
Sure. So I firmly believe, with the Viksit Bharat story, and let's say the 7 trillion economy that we are aiming for, right, in the next 5 years or so, uh, the the export income has got to also ratchet up substantially. Currently, it's sub 1 billion. It's got to go up to sub 1 trillion. It's got to go up to closer to 2 trillion. And then within that, the role of services and GCCs has a big role to play. And I think GCCs can actually double in that time because of the huge interest and need. But in order to do that, we need the right talent on our shore. And talent, when I say talent, I mean we need the delivery talent, we need the technology guys, we need the operations guys and domain, but we also need leadership to be able to take this forward and have the vision and the courage to take it forward. So we need to invest in talent at the middle to senior leadership level as well. We need to ensure that they are given opportunities, that they are able to take ownership and accountability. It's not about just doing what someone asks them to do. It's about really taking ownership and going beyond what someone asks them to bring their ideas and their conviction to the table. So the seat on the table is fine, but it's the voice at the table and the ability to influence and change that's really needed. And my concern is we don't have enough of those leaders to be able to embrace the opportunity that's looking in our face, right? So, to the point you made, we need to invest in that proactively. I think there are already some steps being taken in the direction by various academic institutions, but we need to do much more. And it needs to become virtually a movement across the industry and the country for this to happen.
So, Chetan, any experiences, because you're also working very closely with some of the youth and academic associations. So, any examples or something which you could say, because the strategies have to be really set up. I agree at the academia level, but also in organization participating and looking at which are the finding out, like you said, mamas, which is like your women's coming back. So something like that. How do you find out the skills within there, the organization as well? Or
So my view is that we have good talent, but one is it's not visible always. It's kind of below the covers, and we need to remove the covers to be able to see them. And they need to polish this talent, polish it so that it can really bring out its full potential. Right now, how do we do that? So that's where our assessment tools, etc., need to be good. Our leaders need to be on the ground, watching, observing, and identifying people who can be fast tracked. Then, for example, we need to give them a holistic experience. So, for if our technology leaders have got great technology experience, but they don't know enough about sales, marketing, strategy, HR, finance, etc., etc. So, we need them to be exposed to these areas to become much more holistic in their thinking. Because when they have to bring out value, it's got to be holistic. It can't be just okay. I have this great technology idea, but if it doesn't work in the business world, doesn't bring customers or doesn't have any profitability, it's not going to fly, right? So they've got to have that holistic mindset. So what we had done at Allstate was we had sent about 17 of our senior managers to create a program like a mini MBA to give them exposure across these areas. And as part of that program, they also came out with ideas as part of the learning program to be able to suggest what can be done to create a new business, a new value within the organization or outside. We also started doing things around creating investments and saying, hey, leader, I'm willing to give you so much investment, right? But can you then turn it around and either create a capability or create value which is multiple times that investment? So I'm willing to support you and give you that path, but you can take it and then come with ideas and try it out. And many of our leaders took those, embraced those, and they create capabilities that then became talent for multiple value, or 3x 4x that initial investment. I think those are some of the programs companies can do to try to enhance the value they bring. It of course needs partnership from their parent organization. So I think the need to influence the parent organization to also support these is important.
See, we always look for succession for a CXO. Okay, so is it like creating a succession for the GCC leaders as well? So that I would say not only for the current organization, but create more leaders for the new GCCs which are going to come in. That's going to be very, very important.
Absolutely. In fact, my approach was I told all my managers, senior managers, etc., and leaders that you are the CEO of your business. Act like the CEO of your business and come back with what you need to grow it in an effective way. So, to your point, yes, CXOs or CEOs of even a small business, even an HR function, right, or even a finance function, or even a delivery function, act like the CEO of that business and see where you can take it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. CEO, entrepreneurs, understanding a P&L is very important, which is there. Okay. So thank you so much. I think that's a real good example here, Chetan. We're going to have a small rapid fire for you. The one book that shaped your leadership style.
So I've been reading a few books, or I have read a few books. Some books that really resonate with me. One was a book called Shoe Dog, which is the book on Nike, Nike's growth, Nike the shoe company, by Phil Knight, and it really brought out how Phil went through his ups and downs and journey, and many times thought of closing shop, but then came out. I'm reading this book called Anti Fragile by uh, Nassim Nicholas Taleb, right? Who's also written Black Swan. And Anti-Fragile is very interesting because it's not about being resilient. It's about being open to breaking and then rebuilding, right? So it's kind of a very different take on things. So I'm just reading it. I'm in the middle of it. And then, this may sound cliched, but I think our books like the Bhagavad Gita are really, really very rich in what they bring. And if one can internalize or understand the true meaning behind it, it really brings thoughts which are beyond the norm.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And in our houses, I think twice in a month, people do read Bhagavad Gita, especially on the Ekadashis, to see, what it brings in, and that really helps. Another question: if you have to start a GCC in a tier two city, where and why?
A number of the tier twos have become tier ones now, right? So there's been a growth of tier ones. But amongst the tier two cities, I think some of the cities like Bhubaneswar, Indore, Jaipur, Vizag stand out as being really good destinations. And the reason is, I think the state governments have become much more thoughtful in promoting support, etc. So I'll give you an example. Bhubaneswar has become a bit of a cluster for insurance companies. So insurance capability is getting built in Bhubaneswar, which is great because companies like Guidewire, then I think others are setting up shop there. And I think some ideas and thoughts like that will help accelerate or give these cities an impetus to growth. I think Gift City and Ahmedabad and that area is also a good candidate because financial services will naturally grow in Gift City, and through that, can that become a hub for a tier two GCC for BFSI, right? So I think things like that should help these cities become better or grow.
Yeah, no, I really agree with you because I have gone and seen Gift City this year in January, and also Bhubaneswar to kind of talk to the government over there, and they are really very positive about the stuff they really want to do, and they are actually advertising themselves within India as well, saying that why don't you existing GCCs also come here. So that's good, and not asking an Indian a question about cricket is also not correct. And when the IPL season is going on, so cricket or chess, what's your leadership style?
Well, I like to watch cricket and I played some cricket as well. But chess is where I think I'd like to peg my hat on. I played chess as a child and play once in a while. I think chess really makes you think and strategize a few steps, in advance. So that I think is very interesting.
Thank you so much for this, Chetan, for a very insightful discussion. In fact, I also had a good learning from this discussion, and we had a really good, interesting conversation. I also learned a lot how to being an entrepreneur and also kind of taking risks. So, thank you so much once again. And for the viewers, thank you so much for turning into a special episode of Bhoom of Bharat. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on our channels, for more ideas and innovation shaping our world. If you have any thoughts or stories to share on this topic, we would love to hear from you. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or drop a mail on SRK Game Changers, our website. Until next time, namaste from Bhoom of Bharat.